Madridistas, welcome back to the channel. Listen, those of you that follow the channel know that, this isn't a sort of rah-rah channel where we just talk about how wonderful we are, and we don't create any kind of delusional bubbles here. I've been very, very critical when we've performed poorly. I've been very critical of players who don't perform. We try to keep it real here, but I'm going to tell you something. I think this is one of the best generations I have ever seen in my life, okay? And this has nothing to do with the Alaves match. I'm speaking generally. I watched the great Milan of the late 80s, early 90s. I watched the great Barca in the sort of early, mid-2000s. This is one of the best generations, one of the best crops of players I have ever seen in my life, and it's one of the youngest. I think this group of players can make history, and I think we're onto something really, really special. Look, we'll talk about the Alaves match sort of, briefly. But importantly, we need to talk about specific players. I want to talk about Courtois. I want to talk about Toni Kroos. I want to talk about Vini. I want to talk about Arda, the team in general. And then at the end, I want to discuss Kylian Mbappe again, his arrival. And then finally, if you stay to the end, just put this Bayern ref issue to bed once and for all. But anyway, thanks for joining me. A lot of really interesting stuff to discuss. So let's get started. All right, my Madridista family, welcome back. Listen, before we get started, speaking of family, those of you that watch my intro video, I had mentioned this, that, my younger son was born in September, and by 3 weeks later, I had already made him a socio. Well, I'm, glad to report 18 years later, he came back from college and was actually at the stadium with me last night. It was really cool to have him here. So sorry to get corny, but I had to share that with you guys. Okay, one other thing to mention, I had put in for 4 tickets to Wembley. They did a raffle, which is random, and I didn't even get one. I was very, very unlucky. I was very, very early to submit my requests. The cluster of people that were designated seats were later. They were kind of in the middle. So I was just incredibly unlucky. I don't know how on earth I didn't get any, but usually I am assigned a few. But anyway, very unlucky about that. But I'll suffer watching it on TV like you guys, and I'll be at Cibeles, hopefully if we win. But anyway, listen, let's get started on the players and the Alaves match. Look, this was another exhibition match. There isn't a hell of a lot to say, okay? This is modest opposition. They tried their best to contain us initially in the midfield, but, we pushed them back. Obviously, the players are playing with a lot of freedom. There's nothing to lose, and it's just a joy to watch them play these matches because they really let loose. Camavinga almost scored a Maradona-type goal. It's ridiculous, but everybody just played incredibly well. Jude was unbelievable. Vini is just insane. I can't say enough about this player. Camavinga, just absolutely everybody. The level of autonomy, we call them automatismos in Spanish, just the reflex play, the kind of instinctive one touch. Everybody knows what to do and where to be and where everyone else is. It was just an incredible performance. But I don't want to dwell on that because you guys all watched it. It was just an amazing spectacle. But let's talk about players individually from a broader perspective because there's some interesting things to mention. Now, we need to talk about Courtois. Now, I mentioned to you guys in the last video, I think, Lunin deserves to be in the final, and I still, hold that view, and I know that many of you do based on your comments. But I'm going to tell you something, and you're not going to want to hear this possibly. Courtois' performance last night was incredible. It was the Courtois of old. And I think you guys, it felt the same way on TV because I watched it later, but in the stadium, certainly, that presence that he has is just, it's just another level. His performance last night, the level of security and confidence that he just projects is unbelievable. It is a step above, he is back to his best. And I can tell you that all the YouTubers here and the press are saying that Ancelotti is going to play him in the finals. So you guys may think it's wrong, and I'm not telling you what I think should happen. I'm just telling you this is what people are saying, and the chances of Courtois playing the final have gone from 20% to 90%. after yesterday's performance. So, just brace yourself for that possibility. But he was extraordinary. There was one save where it was a very low shot, very fast to the post, and he dropped low and stopped it. How a 6'7" guy can get that low that quickly is unbelievable. And I don't think there are many goalkeepers in the world that would have stopped that. Courtois is back at his best, and I'm, this debate will rage on, but I'm telling you, the word of mouth here is that Ancelotti is going to play him in the final. Okay, we need to also talk about, well, first of all, I'll mention Militao as well. He is definitely not ready for a final. I mean, of all the players yesterday, I think he's the one that looked a bit, most lukewarm to me. And just as I think Courtois is back in perfect shape, I can't say the same for Militao. So I am expecting Nacho to play in the final unless something miraculous changes. But we have to talk about Vini. Vini's simply extraordinary. And I stand by my statement in the last video. I think he needs to be the Ballon d'Or. I mean, I can't think, unless something crazy happens during the summer and the Euros with Jude or something like that, I can't think of a better player in the world right now. I really can't. Vini just does not stop. His improvement in the last 2 or 3 years is something to behold. His finishing is now so good. His passing, his movement, his ability to play in the middle, even switch to the right sometimes. Vini has improved as a player, and right now, I can't think of a better player in the world. He's just so insistent. He is a nightmare. He comes at you over and over and over. He just doesn't get tired. He's just a nightmare, and he's just constantly creating a headache for opposing defenses. I think Vini has become, I think, the best player in the world right now, and I think he deserves the Ballon d'Or unless something crazy happens. We need to talk about Jude as well. Jude is back, okay? His performance yesterday was typical Jude. I mean, this guy runs. He's on the left. He's on the right. He's up front. He's in the back. The guy is everywhere. And if you see his interaction with Kroos and Camavinga, it's so automatic. It's so instinctive. They look for each other immediately. Camavinga steals a ball immediately. It's either Jude or Kroos, and Kroos to Jude, Jude to Kroos. They manage the midfield. So the ball circulates with such speed. It's just extraordinary. The quality of these players is unbelievable. Now, we need to talk about Toni Kroos as well, because a few months ago, the word was that he had already renewed, but apparently it has not happened yet. It is not official, and he hasn't renewed yet. So there was some chants in the stadium yesterday saying, Tony, please stay. I thought it was a done deal, and actually most of us did here, the YouTubers and the press, etc. But apparently it is not done yet. So I'm really, really hoping that he renews, because what he brings to the midfield is just so unique. His vision, his intelligence, his ability to redirect play, the precision of his passing. It's just this player brings so much common sense and stability to your play. He's like an anchor in the midfield, and everything kind of rotates around him. So I definitely hope that he renews, but I had to mention that. We need to talk about Arda Güler as well. Like, this kid has scored 4 goals in 180 minutes. Okay? I mean, every time this kid comes on, he scores. And if you look at the goal yesterday, he can score with the left, he can score with the right, and he is completely uninhibited. I mean, this guy is not scared. He doesn't need to control the ball. He has such confidence and such a killer instinct. This is just a wonderful player. I mean, it's just incredible. I'm so glad that he's getting more involved, because every time he comes on the pitch, we just think, Jesus, this guy's incredible. So we're really, really just so excited about Arda Güler, and I needed to mention that. But on aggregate, I am telling you, and I'm not exaggerating, this team, the intensity with which they can play because they're very young, the speed because they're very young, and their technical skill. I mean, every one of these players has such incredible technique. The first touches, the weight of the passes, their ability to dribble, to get out of trouble, to hold the ball. This is one of the greatest generations of players I have ever seen, and I have never seen this quality in a team this young. And to think that, you got Mbappe and Enric coming, I mean, this is just mouth-watering stuff. Okay, we'll talk briefly about Mbappe, because I mentioned this in my last video. If you're Kylian, what are you thinking? I mean, you watch Vini. right now is playing at a higher level, right? He could win the Ballon d'Or. Real Madrid could win. I mean, we're not taking it for granted. Borussia is going to be a tough opponent, but could win the 15th. I mean, if you're Kylian, you're thinking, I mean, my role in this team is just to not mess it up. I mean, I think psychologically the tables have turned a lot in terms of Kylian coming, and I think he's going to come with a very different attitude. I think he's going to come with a lot of humility. He's going to come, understanding that, he is not some rock star that comes to save the day. He's somebody that needs to come in and improve things and not mess them up. Because right now, I just don't want anything to mess this up. This is one of the best sides I've ever seen playing instinctively. They're so well managed. I mean, you can tell that the management tactically of this squad is unbelievable. So Kylian, we're going to welcome you, but you're going to need to work very, very hard and know your place, and know that you are here to play as part of a team that is already excellent. So I think the dynamic in terms of Mbappe coming has changed dramatically. Finally, I want to mention the Bayern ref thing, because I don't know, I still hear crap about it, on YouTube and the internet and stuff. Let me make something very clear. If anybody has any questions about the second Joselu goal, let's pull out our football textbook, okay? The second Joselu goal, when this ball goes to Rudiger, okay, Rudiger is not offside. Joselu is, but Rudiger is not. But when Rudiger receives the ball and starts playing the ball, the play resets. And by the time Rudiger passes the ball to Joselu is behind the ball. Okay, so there's zero doubt that this is a goal. So let's put that one to bed. Now, the whole De Ligt situation. First of all, let me just say this. That goal takes place in the 13th minute. Okay, first of all, why are we playing beyond? First of all, why did we add 9? Secondly, why are we playing in the 13th minute? That goal that situation should have never happened, because it was already way past official time. Secondly, when the ref blows the whistle, the Real Madrid players stop, and Lunin doesn't even dive for the ball. So all of this imaginary goal that you think you scored happened after the whistle was blown and after play was stopped. So please, we need to stop with this nonsense. And the ref played until the 14th minute. I don't remember last time I saw 14 minutes added in any match, unless somebody had a kidney transplant in the middle of the pitch. I've never seen this before. So, and don't forget that Nacho, his little tussle with Kimmich was nothing out of the ordinary. There are hundreds of these. This is the most common thing in the world, that, players kind of push each other and shove each other. And that goal was disallowed because Kimmich acted like he got hit by a freight train. And it was just ridiculous. So we need to put this referee thing to bed. We were by far the superior side. Bayern's lucky it wasn't 4-1. So enough of that conversation. I don't want to hear any more crap about that. But anyway, listen, I wanted to keep you guys up to speed on all of that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a phenomenal week, and we'll keep getting ready for Wembley. But thank you for joining me, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. And as always, a la Madrid.